What you're seeing, what you're hearing is a revolution touching our lives, where we work, what we buy, how we live. It's called Maquiladora program, those factories sprouting along our border with Mexico. The border boom is an economic explosion, and that translates into paychecks for workers like these. The maquiladoras provide jobs that only a few years ago didn't exist. The average Mexican worker makes about 70 cents an hour, $6 a day. That compares to a worker from, let's say, Taiwan, who earns about $15 a day, about $1.60 an hour. It's no wonder then that cheap labor is attracting companies from all over Asia and the U.S. The number of manufacturing plants in Tijuana region is increasing at a phenomenal rate. A 25% increase last year and the year before that. Just how big a number are we talking about? Right now, 400 factories employing nearly 40,000 workers.
The concept of the maquiladoras is very important to the United States because of the fact that it allows the U.S. companies to compete in the world market.
These factories in Korea, like others in the Far East, now face higher labor costs, so they too are attracted to Mexico. The Japanese already opened 30 plants and are expected to open 100 more this year. South Korea is shifting some production here, and the Taiwanese are moving into Mexico too. There is controversy. Labor organizations contend U.S. tax breaks for the factories encourage manufacturers to move production and jobs out of the country. Supporters of the maquiladoras disagree, saying they benefit the economy and American labor.
When you really look at the entire picture, I think you'll find that it has helped rather than hurt the unions because of the economic benefits that it has given to the companies here.
Not so, says labor leader Joe Francis.
Well, if that's the case, then perhaps we should bring the plants from Mexico to the U.S. and benefit their economy, just as they suggest they're benefiting our economy by taking our plants away. Why don't we just transpose that, and I'm sure that we could live with that.
The biggest controversy may well be one that's just beginning to surface. Without stringent environmental controls, exactly what health risks do these factories pose for us? According to an industrial directory we uncovered, many factories are involved in the assembly and possibly the manufacture of electronic components, as well as other industries with potentially toxic byproducts.
There's the concept of the circle of poison, that these materials there are no real boundaries in terms of toxics don't respect borderlines.
Basically, in Mexico, they have the same regulations that we have in the United States. They're just not administered as hard, okay? So the United States and the companies that would go into Mexico have an obligation to not just dump over there.
Dr. Gary Fujimoto is a specialist in occupational and internal medicine and currently director of the Occupational Medicine Division of Palo Alto Medical Clinic.
These materials can be released and often be released very quietly into the environment, and yet it can leach into the groundwater, it can leach into the atmosphere, depending on the type of release that takes place from an industry. And through these routes, it can enter the entire ecosystem, can climb the food chain, can affect the aquatic life, and can affect the environment around leached into.
We'll show you what's happening in and around the factories and how it could affect your life.